All right, welcome back. We'll go ahead and get started with the next section of our forum. I do want to remind the audience that if you have any questions, we'll be taking cards and relaying those to the candidates, so we appreciate your participation. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and start with our two commissioner candidates, Randy Paul and Mark Stoops, and beginning with his 5-minute opening statement, Randy Paul.
Okay, I want to thank our chairman tonight for rearranging or rescheduling this meeting. What I want to focus on tonight is the budget. I think what the taxpayers in this county need more than anything else is a leader who is not afraid to vote no on fiscal budget matters when they come up for a vote. A recent example of one of my concerns. The commissioners on March 13th requested $500,000 to buy new furniture for the newly revented courthouse. $500,000 in furniture when almost everyone agrees that the greatest challenge facing the county today is the budget. What makes this purchase even more outrageous is that the furniture is going to be custom made and is going to be made from a business in Jasper, Indiana. So the commissioners didn't even keep the money local for our economy. I prepared a written transcript from the CATS recording on the March 13th meeting, which I'm going to quote from some, and I would encourage people to go online and listen to that meeting, because I think it's a good indication of which commissioners and which council members are truly committed to saving taxpayers and those who are not. The real heroes in that March 13th meeting, in my opinion, were Julie Thomas, Marty Hawk, and Scott Wells. All three put forth excellent arguments in an attempt to stop this purchase. And I want to quote from the transcript tonight to give voters an idea of how something that I think is totally unreasonable right now to purchase actually gets approved. Mark made the verbal request to the council. It was verbal. There was no written documentation. There was no written proposal. It was simply a verbal request for almost a blank check for $500,000. There was discussion, and Vic Kelson made a motion. I would like to move that we change the number to $300,000 at this time, with the understanding that you'll come back with more detailed information once you have your quotes in place. Jeff McKim, we have a motion. Julie Thomas, second. Jeff, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Mark asked to speak. Mark Stoops, please don't. I just would appreciate it if you would set it at $500,000. The cost of furniture is going to be the cost of the furniture. All making $300,000 will do is more work for us and more work for you. So I guess just trust us. The cost of the furniture is going to be the cost of the furniture. I don't get that, because what it implies is that government has no control over shopping, quoting, and getting the best price. Marty Hawk, usually we have something in front of us to give us something, some numbers, some documentation. With this, it's just, oh, here's $500,000, just go do it. Julie Thomas, my concern is, this is a tough decision for me personally, because my concern is we're taking money out of the rainy day fund, and we know our budget is short this year. We are trying to make the cuts. I'm thinking it would be better if we would bring the old furniture back from the Showers building. I know we don't like the furniture, but I know this would be back from the Showers building to save money right now. And I hope we can get together and do a purchase in a couple of years for the furniture. That's all I'm going to ask. I find this very difficult because it's a lot of money. The idea was that basically the motion was made to make it $400,000, and that passed. I will make this pledge to the community. If on May 8th you give me a yes vote, I'll give you a no vote for the next 4 years as commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Mr. Stoops.
Great, thank you. I think hopefully the furniture question will come up later in the forum, and I'll take that opportunity to correct some misconceptions on Randy's part, or probably more likely just lack of knowledge about what's necessary to operate county government. But my name is Mark Stoops, and I'm running for re-election for Monroe County Commissioner in District 2. I feel Monroe County has made significant strides in the last 3 years, and I am committed to continue to seek innovative and more efficient ways to meet the needs of county citizens. In my campaign for County Commissioner in 2008, I promised action on key goals for county government, including a comprehensive growth policies plan that protected rural and environmentally sensitive areas from urban sprawl and focused high-density development in areas with existing infrastructure. I promised to pursue a county health clinic that served multiple local government units and the community. I advocated for the purchase of the North Showers building to solve our decades-old space needs issues and promised to pursue a grants administrator to bring in more grant money for county operations and centrally manage ongoing grants. I also pledged to do whatever I could to stop I-69, destructive I-69 entering our community, and I'd like to say I'm still working on that. Now, this was an aggressive agenda, especially working within the tight budget of the county. I knew we had the dedicated staff and resources, not only to accomplish these goals, but to do so in a manner that saved us money. Also, we've had unprecedented cooperation between the commissioners and the council over the last 3 years. We have shown that we can work together to make these initiatives succeed. First, I am happy to say that finally, after years of hard work, last month we passed a new comprehensive plan for Monroe County that protects our rural character and environment from urban sprawl. The County Employee Health Clinic, one of the first in Indiana, saved county taxpayers over $750,000 in health care costs after expenses in its first full year of operation, as well as saving county employees $120,000 in out-of-pocket copays, deductibles, and prescription drugs. Partners in the clinic include Monroe County Public Library and the Solid Waste District, as well as Bedford North Lawrence Schools and 5 local small businesses. Also, Monroe County purchased the northern section of the Showers building last April, where this forum is held tonight. This project was structured in such a way that it has paid its own operating expenses and also brought $160,000 in additional needed revenue to the county's general fund, and we expect that to average at $200,000 a year. In addition, also by coordinating the purchase of showers with structural repairs on the courthouse, the county saved an estimated $255,000 that would have been necessary to lease space for the vacated courthouse departments. I am also very happy with the success of Monroe County's new grant administrator, who has been directly responsible for bringing in over $500,000 in new grants. One grant awarded this winter is for $280,000 to install solar panels on the Showers building, which will save the county $6,000 a year in utility bills and bring in $12,000 new revenue through the sale of energy credits for the reduction of fossil fuel use. Monroe County is the first county in Indiana to install solar panels on a public building. I am also very proud of the Human Rights Ordinance and Commission passed by the commissioners, again one of the first in the state, as well as finally including domestic partner benefit options. We established the Environmental Quality and Sustainability Commission and the Women's Commission, the first county-level women's commission in the state. We also passed the Responsible Bidders Ordinance, which requires anyone contracting with Monroe County to meet criteria for fair wages and benefits and to make sure that all companies bidding for county dollars are doing so from an even playing field. So, and I'll close with that. Again, my name is Mark Stoops, and I'm running for County Commissioner in District 2, running for re-election as County Commissioner in District 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stoops. Now I'd like to invite the audience. If you have questions, please raise your hand. We'll get you cards, or we'll pick up any cards that you might have with questions. First question, though, for starters, would be to talk about the budget specifically. How will you use your next term or your first term, whatever the case may be, in office to contribute to a balanced county budget? And we'll start out with Mr. Stoops.
Just the same as I've been doing the last 3 years. I'll focus on innovative mechanisms for taking care of the county's needs. For instance, the showers purchase was put off as far as a way to solve our space needs issues for over 2 decades. The county was not able, for one, to afford operating expenses on a new building, and two, not able to justify the expense of a new building. The way Showers was structured, we had tenants in place. We worked with IU and the Community Foundation to purchase showers, the money used to purchase showers will be paid off after 5 years. The amount that we're receiving from tenants will pay for operating expenses, which was one of the biggest hurdles. And as well, we'll be bringing in $160,000, as I said, this year, $200,000 in every additional year, which is a big help for the budget. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Stoops. Mr. Paul?
You know, the phrase penny wise, pound foolish comes to mind. The rhetoric that we're hearing just doesn't match up with the votes that are being made. I'm going to be interested to see how Mark defends the $500,000 request, because it's, to me, amazing. Things like losing $250,000 worth of voting machines because they mistakenly turned them into the vendor before we got the new machines authorized. The HAVA money that we've been trying to get, there's been $425,000 of grant money coming into the county, and we still don't have compliance. The clerk, with the council's approval, bought $800 worth of voting booths that cost $800 each. And when I asked the clerk why, she says because it allows people to sit down. I told her we actually grappled with that problem on the HAVA task force, and we came up with chairs. And they don't cost $800 a piece. The way you take care of this budget is you stop spending ridiculous amounts of money like on furniture, and you take care of the budget first. What Julie Thomas said, I don't know if she's in the room, when she was saying postpone some of these purchases until the budget's taken care of, is a valid, responsible choice. And I think what I can offer people is political cover for their no vote. It's awfully lonely when you vote no, and I can give people cover.
Thank you. Since it's been brought up twice, we'll go ahead and talk about the furniture issue, Mr. Paul. You mentioned it earlier. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I would. There's something that concerns me. If you go through the transcript, and I would urge people to do it, is that twice Mark mentioned trust me. I don't think those two words belong in government when you're talking about money, because what trust me implies is that you're making it personal. And due diligence ought to be the standard, not personal relationships, not friendships, not because you belong to the same party, but due diligence says it doesn't matter who's sitting across that aisle. You have to ask tough questions. You have to be able to ask objective questions, and you have to be willing to vote no. And I can tell you from personal experience, I've met up with it at the library, is when you're the only person in the room voting no, it's incredibly lonely. It impacts your relationship with your friends and your party. So what I said earlier is I think people would vote no more often if there was somebody out there that was doing it first. So when I talk about political cover for the no vote, I think that request would have had serious trouble. If you looked at the face of Jeff McKim and Vic Kelson and others on that board when they voted yes, they had a painful look in their face. Thanks.
I think one thing that my opponent has to understand is that the job of commissioner is also management of county buildings, for which we have hundreds of thousands of square feet of county buildings. The courthouse that is currently under structural renovations is basically a gutted building. The furniture that was purchased or that existed in the courthouse was purchased with the original courthouse renovation back in 1985. So the furniture is pushing 30 years old, and it had to be replaced. The only reason that furniture lasted as long as it was because they purchased good furniture at the time. And the furniture that was in the courthouse is now moved to Showers with the expansion. So we had to buy furniture for 24,000 square feet worth of space, hundreds of employees in the courthouse, and that furniture, was that a stop? And that furniture, again, is purchased from a manufacturer in Jasper. So although it wasn't made locally, it was definitely made within the state. And then I'll deal with the rest of it in another question.
Thank you. Making a transition, perhaps, could you tell us about whether you support the county's the master plan that it's been working on, the comprehensive plan, and what would be your approach to turning that plan into ordinances over your next term?
Okay, as one of the people that put a lot of the legwork into getting the comprehensive plan moving and passed to protect Monroe County from urban sprawl, I definitely pass it and definitely support the creating the ordinances to back the plan up. I'm a little concerned in the Farm Bureau forum last week, my opponent, and I know it was probably just political pandering when he was asked whether he supported the plan. He said, well, there were angry people in the room when the plan was passed, and if I was commissioner, I would know how to make sure that everybody was happy with the plan. Now, of course, the angry people in the room, and I know Mr. Paul doesn't know because he probably did not follow the plan's progression, but the angry people in the room were the Board of Realtors, the Chamber of Commerce, and Cook Financial. All of them have very much interested in speculative land investment, which causes urban sprawl. I don't know what concessions or how Mr. Paul would plan to make concessions to that group if he's elected commissioner. And as I said, I understand it's probably just political pandering, and hopefully there was no real ulterior motive behind it.
Mr. Paul?
Well, for a man who won't accept campaign contributions, that stood up to his party, the last thing I've ever been accused of is political pondering. Let me say this. The reason I'm concerned about a community split and that angry is I don't think it had to be necessary. Mark was the author primarily of that plan, and he voted on that plan. And I see that as a conflict of interest, and I would have suggested that they hire a consultant and not had that conflict of interest. I'll defend my remarks at Farm Bureau. What I'm saying is when you have a plan that is important to the community, it does no one any good for the community to be that split. I don't think you're going to accomplish in ordinances what you didn't accomplish in the initial plan. I was born on a very large dairy farm. There is no farmer I know that was more committed to environment than they are because they have a vested interest in preserving their land. All I'm saying is you got a farm kid on commissioners, you're going to have somebody who understands property rights and you're going to understands environmental rights. And I watched every meeting they had on the comprehensive plan. I could have done it better. I think I can get a better ordinance set up for everybody. Thanks.
On a somewhat connected note, and it was mentioned in some of the earlier comments, what is your thought on the progress of I-69, and how would you approach that from a position of leadership in county government?
I'll say the same thing I did before, is that the thing that's concerned me about I-69 is I don't think either side is talking about it. I came out early on saying the need for transportation is going to be critical to economic development, but you cannot sacrifice the environment. And I don't think it has to be an us or them. It disturbs me that government lines up saying good versus bad. Mark demonizes the other side. I don't think you get anywhere doing that. You can disagree with someone without making them the villain. And I think in I-69 and a number of other issues, the best person that I knew that could bring a community together that I worked for and campaigned with and helped elect was Jack Hopkins. And Jack was the one that first told me, you accomplish nothing if you divide the community. And I see that's all we're doing right now.
Mr. Stoops.
Well, I guess I'd have to say or ask the question, where was Randy? Where was Randy, my opponent, during the public comment and the process of creating the comprehensive plan? Where was my opponent during all of the discussions and all the debate for and against I-69 for the last 2 decades? I didn't see him. He obviously didn't have an interest, and from what I can tell, he hasn't even read the comprehensive plan. I'm not sure he's really followed the progress of I-69 or even knows how much discussions took place or didn't take place over the years that I have been involved in them. And again, if I've got 10 seconds left, I'm going to go back to the furniture discussion. As I discussed, the commissioners asked for a certain amount from the council because that was the direction we were given by the architect who's working with the company providing the furniture. Again, the furniture is provided on a statewide bulk buying discount. We were asked to ask for a range, and I believe also that range was high, but we needed to negotiate immediately to get that furniture
Thank you,
purchased.
Mr. Stoops.
Can I get extra time then? I mean,
You
he
may.
did.
You may. Just,
I just want to raise a point, and I saw it in meetings, is that if you don't agree with Mark, you're either not smart or not prepared or haven't been dedicated to it. I'm a member of the MPO, and I spent the last 3 years trying to get the county accessible so that people can get I-69. So to accuse me of not caring or not knowing, he does this all the time, and just because you disagree with him doesn't mean you're dumb.
we'll move on to the next question. Again, somewhat related, can you talk about, maybe independently of I-69, what's your assessment of the environmental challenges in our community, and what do you think should be done from the standpoint of a commissioner to address them? And Mr. Paul, it'll be your turn.
My passion and my concern on virtually any project you're going to talk about are the people who often aren't heard and aren't served, and that's the very poor, and that's people with disabilities. There are a variety of problems that have been, well, with NDOT, there's been an ongoing problem in terms of accessibility for people, walkways, all of it, where in the MPO meetings we actually set up a subcommittee, which I'm a member of, to look at things like I-69 from an accessibility standpoint. It's something I've worked on for a long time. I've had very patronizing statements by my opponents saying the only reason I care about accessibility is because I'm in a wheelchair. I spent 10 years with the ACLU working on accessibility issues well before I had my disability.
Excuse me, that is
Mr.
That is a
Please,
lie.
Mr. Stoops, please let
I have
him finish.
never,
And
ever said that.
Mr. Stoops, you can rebut in your time.
Okay, I will.
Mr.
Thank you.
Paul?
Can I get some time back?
Yeah.
And this is what, guys, you got a choice. If you want a commissioner that demonizes the opposition, calls people who don't agree with him dumb, and interrupts like that, then go for it. I'm trying to give you guys a choice.
Mr. Stoops.
The I-69 still represents quite a few problems for the county. Section 4 that'll be coming in the southwest portion of the county, again, a very beautiful, undisturbed section of the county, will have to blast and fill huge areas. For instance, near Harmony Road, the plan is to blast 80 feet deep and 300 feet wide. And again, that's in some of the most fragile karst areas in the county, as well as I-69 will be affecting 1,400 sinkholes, which are direct conduits to our groundwater. Not to mention air pollution from the truck traffic, which NDOT has failed to give us correct clean air data on. Not to mention noise pollution, which will not be mitigated. We could have serious problems with spills and emergency access. So I-69 is an environmental disaster. We can, as commissioners, we can work to try to mitigate those, and that's what I think we'll continue to do. Thank you.
Just like to invite the audience if there are any questions. It doesn't look like it. We'll have our last question before concluding statements, and that will be, if you could please tell us about your approach, how that you will work effectively and in partnership with the other elected officials in county government, the county council, auditor, treasurer, et cetera, during your term. Mr. Stoops.
As I have in the past, I think the commissioners and I am happy to work with all the department heads and other local government units. But if I can get back to some of the previous questions, I think the people who are watching this watch CATS. They watch the meetings on CATS. They watch me on CATS. They watch Randy on CATS. They know particularly how we behave or don't behave ourselves in meetings. And I think, so just sitting here up here in a forum is not going to change anybody's view. But I would like to say, if Randy is that concerned about, say, $500,000 or saving the county $500,000, then he should have supported vote centers. Right now, this year, vote centers are going to cost the county $500,000 in additional funds. And the only reason that vote centers are stopped are because of three people, and that is the state or the Republican chair, Steve Hogan, the Republican vice chair, Judith Smith-Isle, and our Randy Paul. And if Randy hadn't stood up in opposition, we'd have vote centers now.
Randy, Mr. Paul.
You know, and again, is the us versus them. I just don't think it's a good way to govern. Yeah, I'm going to fight like hell for what I believe in. You know, what I've done the last 10 years has been an advocate outside of government. And I do letters of the editor, and I do go to public comments. I've been cut off by people who don't want me to be able to talk and hear what I have to say. I want to offer an alternative. I want to offer an alternative to the voters that says, yes, I'm a Democrat. I've been a Democrat for 44 years. My first campaign was in 1968 with Bobby Kennedy. I was 11 years old. I've never missed an election cycle since that time. I want to offer you a different kind of Democrat, a Democrat who will stand up to the party when you need to, cooperate when you can, but take care of the voters. And everybody says that, but if you look at my record, watch library board meetings and see how many tax dollars I saved by voting no, I think I give a clear alternative, and I will stop this us versus them going on in the community. And you've seen it tonight with me.
We'll move over to our concluding statements, and Mr. Stoops, 2 minutes.
Okay. Again, I'm very happy to represent the public in Monroe County. I think I'm very clear about the things I try to do or will try to do in office, and as I've said, I try to and I work very hard to accomplish the goals I set for myself and for the community. And the community is seen to support me by electing me to the position of county commissioner. There's still very much work left to do to help Monroe County government operate more effectively on behalf of our community while maintaining one of the lowest tax rates in the state. And I'm looking forward to discussing my goals for the county during my campaign for re-election. And I look forward to achieving those goals if the voters of Monroe County choose to support me for another term. I'm a fourth-generation Monroe County resident, married, father of 4 children. My profession is a graphic artist, and I also restore historic buildings. I served 8 years on the county council before being elected commissioner in 2008. Again, my name is Mark Stoops, and I'd appreciate your vote May 8th or even earlier during early voting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stoops. Mr. Paul, your concluding statement?
Yeah, I think I really ought to touch on the fact that what drives me in the work I've done in the past and why I'm running right now is an issue we haven't talked about right now, and that is the number of people in our community that live in real poverty. I take public transportation, I take VT Access because it's a handicapped service. When they raised their rate from $1.50 to $2, some of the people I travel with could not afford the increase. And those people aren't being talked about. And the reason I get angry about $500,000 on furniture coming out of a rainy day fund that's supposed to be used for emergencies is there are families who have been in an emergency status for years. There are families who have children going to bed at night that don't have enough to eat. I had a student I worked with at Summit where he would run in from the bus every morning and go to the cafeteria, and I said, "Why are you running so hard?" He said, "Because I'm so hungry." And I said, "Why don't you get a snack at home before you come?" And he goes, "If I eat, my baby sister can't." Guys, those people are out there, and they're not being heard. And the one thing that I've always done, I think if you watch Cats, the consistent theme that I've always said, is there are people in our community who are not being represented. And I want to be there for them. And I think I'm going to be a different kind of Democrat commissioner, and I think it's badly needed right now. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Paul, Mr. Stoops, Democratic candidates for Monroe County Commissioner. We'll take a short break as we transition over to our County Council debate. Thank you all. We'll be right back.